Melbourne. Chris, great to see you as always. Just firstly on the non-farm payrolls there, disappointment surrounding there. So I mean, what happens then to the idea that tapering is still on for September?
Yeah, good morning, Brodie. I mean, we haven't seen any strategists, any investment banks changing their calls at the moment. I still think the consensus is that we are going to see a major announcement coming through in the September meeting on the 19th for us at 4 o'clock in the morning. The problem that we have now is there's not a huge amount more data to come in between that. No, I think probably the big one is going to be the US retail sales numbers. There's no Fed members looking to be speaking in that time. I think Williams, the Cleveland president, or San Francisco president John Williams, is speaking tonight about 1 o'clock in the morning. So I think that's probably the only Fed member that we have left on the docket. I think what you need to ask yourself is this job number weak enough for them to now change their mantra, because they were, and certainly the consensus was that they were going to move in September. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a weak enough for them to really change their call. I mean, if you look at the actual average that we've been seeing now, 160,000 is what we've been having over the last 6 months on average, which is probably below what they would like to see. Charles Evans, who spoke as well on Friday, he called a number of months ago for the job numbers to average around 200,000 for him to consider that the substantial change that they want to see. It's running about 40,000 below that at the moment, and the pace of declines in the pace of job growth in Q3 has come down markedly from Q2. So they won't be particularly pleased there. And I think Wall Street Journal's John Hilsenrath said that the situation now, the dilemma that they have is very much a knife-edge scenario. So yeah, it could go either way, and I think really at best what we're going to get from this now is a token amount. So 10 to 15 billion seems like an achievable total if they do decide to cut. So yeah, I don't think this is weak enough for them necessarily to change their tone, but certainly if you look at the trends we're seeing in a lot of the underlying data there, it's not particularly inspiring, and certainly not enough for the hawks to really get too excited about there.
Just in terms of the markets that we've seen reacting so far this morning to both the jobs data in the US, the China trade data, the election, of course, here in Australia. What's your sense? I mean, is there a bit of a risk-on theme early on?
There is a very tepid one, although if you look at gold's down a few bucks this morning, nothing substantial there. We're seeing WTI and Brent prices moving a little bit lower. WTI is down about 60 cents when the futures opened there at 8 o'clock this morning. Really the big one that everyone's talking about and where the flows we're seeing are today is around the Nikkei, and the Nikkei futures, which have opened up substantially stronger. Dollar yen's up about 70 or 80 pips this morning, which is a reasonable move, I suppose, when you look at the moves we're seeing, the tepid moves we're seeing in Aussie dollar, euro dollar, sterling dollar, for example. And obviously their Olympic bid is helping them. It's certainly going to do wonders for RBA's approval rating there. It's going to do wonders for the perception of construction build going forward and what that's going to mean. And of course we've got the GDP number today in Japan, which is going to be one that we're all going to be closely following. I mean, that's expected to rebound from 2.6 up to about 3.8, 3.9%. And that's going to have implications on the sales tax there as well. So yeah, really the flows we've been seeing today have been anything Japanese related, have really been the big one. The talking point over the weekend, obviously China trade balance numbers, they were okay, I suppose. I don't think we're seeing too much in the way of flows around that. Continued situations with Syria, what's happening with Russia there, that's getting a few people talking this morning. But the fact is, WTI and Brent prices, I say, are down a little bit this morning after being up quite nicely on Friday. So really, in terms of the big mover, it's anything to do with Japan this morning.
Then your opening call for the ASX 200 in light of all of that?
We're taking into consideration, Bridie, the 6 points that come out the market on open, because we've got a number of stocks going ex-dividend. I think CSL is one of those, Monadelphous and Woolworths as well. There's a few more. Yeah, we're looking for the market to open up about 18 points higher this morning, up about 0.4%. That includes the modest move up we've seen in S&P futures this morning, up about 0.2%. Japanese market's obviously very important for us, and that should open well over 2% as things stand. I think what we're going to look at today is the material space, of course. We've seen iron ore prices down 2.2% on Friday, so that may weigh on, obviously, Fortescue, which looks like it's running into quite a lot of supply around that 450 mark. BHP, the ADR's matching down about 13 cents, so nothing too substantial there. I think it's going to be a day that we're just looking at offshore leads. What's happening with tapering? Potentially good for gold stocks today. But yeah, ultimately we're looking for a modest open, 18 points, and that includes the points that are coming out for that going ex-dividend.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Chris. We'll talk to you through the session.
Thanks, Bridie.
Chris Weston there from